let's go. I want to go into a little bit of hypothetical stuff. And obviously, we don't have any sports going on right now. But at some point, sports are going to come back. And
Hopefully.
fingers crossed that we're still able to get the NBA season to either have playoffs or have regular season plus playoffs. So I'm going to throw a two-part question out there. One is, which team does this break hurt the most, and which team does this break help the most? And second is, if the NBA season can continue, which are we gonna? Do you think that there should be regular season games, maybe finish off the regular season, maybe 5 regular season games, or go straight into playoffs? I'm gonna start with this one. I think for the biggest hurt, you gotta go with the Los Angeles Lakers. They basically just came off. They came off beating the Milwaukee Bucks. Finally beat the Los Angeles Clippers. If you were listening to interviews, I was listening to Danny Green on First Take, and he was saying that they were about 85% of the way of where they wanted to be, but they felt that the snowball was really rolling and they were playing some really good basketball. And I couldn't agree more. LeBron James playing absolutely incredible, averaging almost 11 assists a game, and Anthony Davis being a monster. But it was more than that. It was Kentavious Caldwell-Pope having a significant role. It was people like Alex Caruso. I mean, he's overrated, but JaVale McGee started having a good role. Avery Bradley and Danny Green playing some really good perimeter defense. So I think it's a loss for them, but at the same time, I think they'll be back in it because they have the best leader in basketball, and the person with, I believe, also has the best IQ. So I think they'll be right back in it. They have a ton of talent. And for the team that helps the most, I think you got to go with the Brooklyn Nets, just because of injuries. Let's hypothetically say that the season comes back in July, and I think that's being on the positive side of it, to be honest. You know who's going to be back? Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is going to be back playing for the Brooklyn Nets. They're going to, and if they start in the playoffs, he's going to be playing. Kyrie Irving is going to be back. Okay. All of a sudden, this team went from a 7 seed that's going to get eliminated pretty easily to a 7 seed that nobody's going to want to play.
Yeah.
It is going to be dangerous. And we'll see how Kevin Durant is coming off this Achilles injury, and Kyrie Irving coming off, a bunch of injuries this season. But they are a team that as a 2 seed, you just don't want to see a 7 seed with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. It doesn't even matter the supporting cast. And they have a great supporting cast in Spencer Dinwiddie and Karis LeVert and Allen and Joe Harris and a bunch of other people. And I think in terms of the season, I think that you actually have to play a few regular season games. I think that maybe you either finish the season because there's only like 10 or 12 more games. There's like 12 more games left. Or you put maybe the last 5 games of the regular season. I don't think it's fair for teams to, after not playing for 4 months, to hop right into the playoffs. I don't think it's fair at all.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's going to be some concern because, like, let's say if a team has a really easy schedule and you had to skip over that part, they get screwed. But look, we need basketball back, and I think that for basketball to be at a high performance, you need a few regular season games. Let's go to Cameron Johnson to this.
Well, I'm going to start with your second part as to what I think they're going to do. I think that they should play a couple regular season games, but I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to hop right into the playoffs. I've been reading up on a bunch of things that they're going to do potentially with the playoffs, like move it to Vegas, have the first round be 5 games. It's kind of like a tune-up round. And then the quarterfinals and Eastern Conference, Western Conference finals be 1 game, which is honestly absurd to me. It seems kind of backwards, but and then have the NBA finals be 7 games. But whatever the NBA does, I think that they're going to go right into the playoffs. And then to answer your other questions, who it hurts the most, if they were to hop right into the playoffs, you know who it hurts the most? The New Orleans Pelicans.
No doubt about it.
The Pelicans were on the verge. I don't know if they would have done it, but there was a strong possibility that they would have taken over that 8 seed in the Western Conference from the Grizzlies and made some noise in the they just would have been fun to watch in the playoffs. Zion carried the team with Brandon Ingram, Lonzo, all those guys, carried them into the playoffs as the 8 seed. They get some playoff experience, and they have a bright future, and that writes off their 2020 season. But with this hiatus that the NBA is taking, and my prediction is that they're going to go right into the playoffs, that kills the Pelicans because they're not in the playoffs right now, so they wouldn't play. Their season's just over. It's over. You
Mm.
just have to wait for the 2020-2021 season. And then for my team that it helps the most, I like your pick with the Nets, but I honestly don't think Kevin Durant's going to come back. A ruptured Achilles is a tough injury to play around with. My team that it helps the most, I would probably say the Clippers because it doesn't help teams that were playing well. My other team that it also hurts is the Raptors because they were on a great run this year. Although they weren't the most talented team, they were winning games in a lot of games. They had that streak of what, 15, 16 consecutive games won?
I think it was 14.
Yeah, so they had a lot of games won consecutive. They were playing great basketball, so it hurts them as well. The team that it helps most is probably the Clippers. If they want to get everyone healthy, Kawhi probably would have sat out the amount of games that the NBA was taking a hiatus. So he would have sat out all these games anyway, load managed, getting ready for the playoffs. And it also, for the Clippers, their only real competition in the West is the Lakers. It's going to be them too in the Western Conference Finals. So slowing the Lakers down and, getting them out of their groove or whatever they were on and how well they were playing, getting them off of that is great for the Clippers. So you're basically starting a fresh season. And honestly, the Clippers have better role players. They have better depth than the Lakers. The Lakers stars may be better, but the Clippers have more depth. And if they get into a 7-game series, then I would take the Clippers.
I think that's a good point because the Clippers have also been either banged up or they've been trying to do load management. And for the Pelicans, this was a team that started off 6-21 this year,
Yeah.
and somehow made a run over 500 basketball with Zion Williams, and really they've just been playing great basketball since that 6-21 horrific start. Let's go to Jimmy next.
All right, so I think that the main team that it helps are teams that don't have those like you look at LA, you have Anthony Davis and LeBron, and then on the other side of LA you have Kawhi and Paul George. I think that those teams have so much talent, it doesn't put a lot of strain on like both of their stars. I think that guys that have like the Bucks with Giannis, it's like Giannis is the focal point of that team. He's the what's it called? He's the focus on offense, and he's a big defensive player too. I think that it helps really the teams like the Bucks that have that one superstar that they really rely on to carry their team. Well, not really, like they have a great supporting cast, but that one player really carries their franchise, and it gives him a break. And then they go into the playoffs as the number one seed if they start the playoffs right away. Um, and yeah, so I think that it helps the Bucks just because it or teams like the Bucks because it gives their star players a little bit of a break. You don't have the wear and tear of the entire NBA season fighting for the number one seed. So I think that it helps teams like the Bucks the most, and I think that it hurts teams that are newer, like these two. Like you have even both teams in LA, and even teams like the Nets. I think it actually kind of hurts them because if I'm not mistaken, because of coronavirus, they can't have like team practices or anything like that. So these teams are new, and you have big personalities usually and a lot of talent. But I think that especially in basketball, chemistry and knowing what your guys are going to do and how your guys play is a really big factor into that game. So, I mean, even if KD can come back for like the Nets, and the Nets make the playoffs, which they are in the seventh seed right now, it's such a big question mark because you don't know how Kyrie and KD are going to play together because they've never played together on the same team in any games, and it's going to start in the playoffs. And there's always a little bit of a feeling out process. And I think that if you start in the playoffs, it could actually hurt them. Like, sure, it gives him some more time to come back, but he would have had that time if they were still playing, and then they could have the practices together and kind of ease him in. So I would say that it actually hurts these newer teams that haven't developed the chemistry yet, that some of these more experienced teams, like even the Bucks don't have all the talent in the world, but they definitely have the chemistry, and then they have the superstar in Giannis. So I would say that those are my winners and losers for this, if they are able to come back.
Gotcha. Understand. Let's go to Cam Smith and then Jordan to close it off.
I think one team, despite the fact that they're pretty close to sneaking into a playoff spot, but one team I think that'll probably be happy that they can just kind of, metaphorically kill off the season is probably going to be the Blazers. The Blazers underperformed so miserably this year for the amount of talent that they have on their roster. They dealt with little stints of injuries to Dame Lillard, and Dame really was the firepower of the offense. And even in his wake when he was gone, CJ McCollum had stepped up and had a couple big games. But really, they were so hurt on the front end this year. What's
Nurkic,
that?
and not having Yusuf Nurkic is a
That's
huge
what I was
loss.
saying. Not having Nurkic really, I think, kind of hurt this team this year. And I think if they get healthy, they regroup. They have Nurkic and Whiteside with Dame and CJ. I think the team could make some damage in the West, like we've known them to do. So I'd probably say they're the biggest winners / losers. But if you want a real winner, I'll give you a real winner. The New York Knicks. We can just be
Wait, we haven't heard that in a
happy
long
we
time.
don't have to watch Knicks basketball for the rest of the year. I guess that's the positive.
That's the first time the
my
Knicks have been in the winning column in anything this year.
How's it
For a
feel that
couple of
LaMelo
years.
Ball is going to be on the Knicks at this time next year?
Let's get it.
I hope so. Jordan, let's
I
round
love
it off to
LaMelo.
close our show.
So my winner and loser is actually going to be the same exact team because the last really big team that's been plagued by injuries has been the Philadelphia 76ers.
How
But
did we know this is going that way?
at the
God, the
same
Sixers were
time,
awful this year.
they are the worst when it comes to coming back from any sort of break. Joel Embiid always comes back. When he comes back from injury, it takes him about 10 games to finally get back into game shape. And it's like that. It seems like that with every player on the team because Ben Simmons went out right before with like a back injury, out indefinitely. Josh Richardson was just about to come back from a concussion, so like that's good that he's getting more time back, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, they always have some level of growing pains, and they're going to go through them again.
Did you see that Elton Brand was being targeted by the Knicks for their next GM spot?
I hope
saw
he
that.
does it and then trades for Al
The
Horford.
first move is to trade Al Horford and
Yes.
inherit that 100 whatever it is $1 million
$109
contract.
million.
Can we please get his formed year like $80 billion contract, please?